Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Market here with episode number 16 of the Rogue Roundup, where I give my picks from Oathbreaker, which is replacing Pauper, Legacy, Commander, Modern, and Standard for cards that I think are going to go up in value. Starting off this week, we're going to look at Legacy. Legacy, I was procrastinated this episode a little bit, and I picked Dreadhorde Arcanist. When I picked this card, it was going for about $3.50. It has moved up a bit, had a bit of a bump, and it's mainly due to this deck having very good showings in Legacy with the Delver, the Is It Delver decks. In fact, the last tournament that I looked at had about 35% of the decks running this particular list. Dreadhorde Arcanist is very, very powerful when you can keep getting back cantrip spells like Brainstorm, and it pairs very well with Young Pyromancer and Delver of Secrets. This card also sees play in Modern in the Is It Wizards decks, and occasionally sees play in Standard in the Feather decks. So something that can triple dip is very, very good for a card that has the potential to go up. In the past, I've been very bearish on the whole War of the Sparks as a set. However, I think this is a card that is undervalued comparatively to how much it does see play in the various formats. Currently, the spread isn't too hot either. The best buy list price is $1.75, and they are going for about $3 to $4.25 in the various markets. I think this card will continue to rise. It depends on the War of the Spark. If it becomes more of an out of sight, out of mind set where people keep putting money into the Modern Horizons or Core 2020 coming out, or we do even have a Commander set coming out, that will spell good news for the Dreadhorde Arcanist. However, if War of the Spark continues to have such a positive EV, I think this card could stagnate. So I'm looking for this more of a rotation card. It could find the right deck in Standard or just long-term for Legacy. Next up, we have Standard, and I'm going to pick a card that is doing okay right now, but I think a card that's very well positioned for rotation. So I'm not sure if red decks are going to go to more of the big red post-rotation, but currently there is a Gruul midrange as well as Gruul Walkers that runs 4 Skargon Hellkites. So Skargon Hellkite is a very, very powerful card with a 4/4 Riot, and the activated ability is also really good because the card that gives it Death Touch, or a few of the cards that give it Death Touch, are not rotating post-rotation. So I'm expecting the Jund version of this to stick around, as well as just the good old Gruul midrange and Gruul Walkers. Currently, the buy list spread is razor thin. The retail price of this card is about $3, and Card Kingdom is paying $2.50. So that means that this card is poised to go up in value. Currently, it's at the flat growth rate, meaning it's finally leveled out, and I don't expect Ravnica Allegiance to be opened much more. In fact, distributors are already trying to incentivize boxes being sold by giving discounts on Ravnica Allegiance. There's just too many more shiny things like the Gideon Spellbooks, like the Commander that's coming out like War of the Spark that is keeping people from opening Ravnica Allegiance. So I think a card, a Mythic especially at this low, that does see 4 ofs in a standard base deck that probably is going to do quite well post-rotation with the cards that we've got going, is just poised to have a double up or a triple up in that post-rotation time. Moving on to Modern, I am really starting to look at Ultimate Masters as an investable set now. So I had a lot of heat, especially for this channel, for saying you should not be investing in Ultimate Masters because it would stay stagnant for 6 months. Well, we are at that 6 month or past that 6 month mark where I think that the cards, especially the rares, are poised to go up. So for this week, I'm going to call Celestial Colonnade. There are a ton of decks, either Jeskai or Esper, or especially Azorius Control or even Saheeli combo, that plays between 2 and 4 of these. I think the average deck that runs Celestial Colonnade was running 2.8 of these cards. This card was able to get up to about $40 before it was reprinted, and it's been going down consistently now for 6 months or flat. And the buy list is actually quite aggressive. There are buy lists paying $11 for this card, and the retail price is bouncing between about $13.50 and $15. So I think very aggressive targeting these around that buy list price or above the buy list price is smart, as this card could easily approach the $20 mark by the end of the year. Moving on to Oathbreaker. So my first Oathbreaker is going to be Foil Dark Intimations. Why I picked this is there are 4 Nicol Bolas commanders, and all of them are seeing quite a bit of play in the Oathbreaker format. Nicol Bolas the Deceiver is actually seeing more decks than I expected. That's the card that came out of the Planeswalker decks. Nicol Bolas Planeswalker, Nicol Bolas God Pharaoh, and Nicol Bolas Dragon God are all in the top 25 Oathbreakers, and in fact, a couple of those are even top 10. So Dark Intimations works very well with any Nicol Bolas Planeswalker. It's in the colors. It actually does a lot in a multiplayered format, as each opponent sacks a creature, Planeswalker, then discards a card, and you get to return a creature or Planeswalker card from your grave to your hand. hand, then draw a card. So it's a ton of value. I don't think that many of the decks run it as a signature spell. However, it was 35% plus of the decks were running Dark Intimations that were Nicol Bolas decks. So foils where this is very lucrative. It's only going for $1. This is Eighth Revolt. It's had time to rotate and start to accrue value for other cards that see play. So adding this to, or adding Oathbreaker to the mix, I think is going to make cards that specifically are good in those formats start to go crazy. I think Dark Intimations is a great spec if you believe in the Oathbreaker format. This leaves us again with Commander as our top pick, so I'm picking Sai Master Thopterist, mainly due to the fact that this is going in Urza Lord High Artificer decks, and basically every deck, I think it was 80% plus of those decks were running the Master Thopterist. This card has bottomed out. I don't see Core 2019 being opened anymore. I expect this to start going up in value. There are a couple decks that do currently run it in Modern, and so that has the double dipping factor. It's a very popular card in not just Urza decks in Commander, basically Brea or Saheeli or Tawnos. A lot of these artifact-based decks that have blue in them are going to be running it because it's just such a good engine. In fact, this card makes a pretty decent commander by itself. So I think that this is going to be the lowest price you're going to be able to get in on Sai Master Thopterist, and we're going to see this card spiking soon. The buy list is very, very aggressive at the moment, with buy list paying up to $1.50 and the current price being $2. So I think that you should start to be very aggressive on the Sai Master Thopterist, especially with the next Commander 2018 or the Summer Commander coming out. There definitely could be an artifact list in those, and that will increase the demand of the Sai Master Thopterist. I hope you enjoyed this list of cards from this week's episode of the Rogue Roundup. Be sure to check back next week, or if you're a fan of this type of financial content, be sure to subscribe, like, and comment. What are your 5 cards you're going to be investing in? Be sure to check out my other channel over at roguedeckbuilder.com for our weekly Market Monday episode. Thanks for watching.